Are you interested in checking out the Affliction Warlock for the next expansion, Midnight, and really want to know what you're going to be getting your hands on and making sure that it's going to be the right fit for you? Then today's video is a perfect one for you, so that you're not making the mistake of stumbling into the wrong class selection or pick for yourself. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Now, Affliction Warlock is being reworked quite dramatically for Midnight, and it just recently got a significant kind of class tree talent update and hero tree talent update. So I wanted to make a video going over and reviewing the changes that you should anticipate for this specialization moving into it, because if you're a returning player from a previous expansion, it may not play at all the way that you're anticipating it to play as it did back in the day. And we're going to be reviewing the pros and some of the cons for some of the decisions that they have decided to do in relation to this specialization. So let's just get started. The first thing is that there are apex talents for every spec. And for the Affliction Warlock, it is this row of 3 right here. And it starts with the Shadow of Nathriza, and it basically focuses around Haunt. It's going to call in a demonic soul to haunt the target and basically do a little bit of damage and AoE damage to targets that are suffering from corruption. It's then further enhanced through the talents below it, increases the initial damage of Haunt by 50%, and Haunt increases damage dealt to the host by additional 2%. So Haunt is likely to be a pivotal role to the specialization. So if you're a Haunt enjoyer, this is likely going to be a lot of fun for you. I'm a bit worried about it having biases towards the Soul Harvester hero talent tree, but that was a hero talent tree I played all of the War Within, and so oh well, it's just going to basically make my build and playstyle a lot more enjoyable. And then finally, the capstone, Shadow of Nathriza, which is damage dealt by Haunt, has a chance to release the desperate demonic soul haunting its host, casting Fell Claw and Carrion Swarm over 12 seconds before being banished. So you're basically be able to call in an extra demon, and this is actually a Dreadlord. So if you've wanted to ever summon in a Dreadlord as a Warlock, it looks like that's likely going to be the case. Remember that this is the alpha. We're in the 3rd phase, though, moving into the final 2 phases here, I think pretty shortly, honestly. We're going to get max level testing, dungeons, and PvP and the like, and I'm going to be basically playing all these specs live in that as soon as it's available, because I'm really excited. I feel like the class is the vehicle of the experience for the game, so it's very important that it is polished and the best that it absolutely can be. But I think these Apex talents are absolutely fantastic. They fit exactly with what I want from Affliction Warlock. If you're not a Haunt enjoyer, you don't like Dreadlords, I don't know how you can call yourself a Warlock enjoyer, but you might not like that as the layout. Now, there is a lot of great enhancements for Mythic Plus playstyle for the Affliction Warlock, which honestly got me intrigued to try it. There's a lot of focus around Seed of Corruption, with so the Seeds of the Capstone, and now embeds demons with 2 additional nearby enemies, 50% effectiveness. There's big damage modifiers to Seed of Corruption, and the cast time is reduced. And basically with no gear, your cast time on Seed of Corruption is really fast right now at 1.4 seconds. So likely you're going to be able to get a lot of big AoE Seed of Corruption bombs. Now, there have been patches in PvP where Seed of Corruption, I think like back in TBC, like Alteric Valley, and there are epic BGs. There's a new epic BG. So I'm actually kind of curious to try a Seed of Corruption build in an epic BG just to see what it can do, because with all of these synergies, it's likely going to be pumping some really big numbers. They've also moved Dark Harvest up into the middle of the tree and baked in a lot of other effects with it. It's now a 1-minute cooldown. It just deals damage over 2 seconds, and damage dealt by it will heal you, and you can further enhance it by 10%. And when Dark Harvest deals damage, it will extend the duration of your agony, corruption, and unstable affliction. Now, basically, it's kind of taking the spot of Soul Rot, because Soul Rot has been deleted, obviously, here. So that's a big one. If you liked Soul Rot's gone. Dark Harvest is kind of stepping in as like a pseudo position for that in sort of AoE dot extension situations, which is likely going to feel good for some like on-demand AoE burst in those AoE situations. As far as single target, kind of PvP orientated damage, you might still want it just for the dot extension, but it might be more focused if you're fighting classes that stand close to each other as opposed to ranged classes that stand apart. So likely you're going to have a little bit of build diversity there. The biggest change is that Malefic Rapture is also gone. So Soul Rot replaced kind of pseudo with Dark Harvest, but you can opt out of it, so a little bit less keybinds there. Malefic Rapture is gone, it's now replaced with Unstable Affliction as your spender. So if you played Affliction Warlock in Legion, you'll remember stacking this target up. I do believe that they have removed the cap on how much that you can stack it now. So when we test it here on the dummies after reviewing this, because there's a lot to review, we'll see how high we can really get Unstable Affliction stacks to go and see how potent this can be. Downside of this depends in PvP situations on how punishing dispelling Unstable Affliction is. If you spend a lot of resources to cap it a bunch of times and healers can just remove it easily, this mechanic will likely be very frustrating in a PvP environment. In a PvE environment, it's basically just cutting down the number of keybinds that you have and focusing more on seed likely for your kind of big AoE burst moments, which will likely feel smoother and a little bit less keybind density, which I think is the main goal of the kind of reworks that they're going for with the classes here. But it's got the Legion vibes. My personal favorite iteration of Soul Shard expenditure was Warlords of Draenor, and I know everybody's like, Warlords of Draenor, something good from that? Yeah, well, I thought it was. I liked Soulburn Haunt. You use Soulburn, it would empower your next Haunt to then amplify the damage over time effects of all targets, as opposed to just the target that Haunt was on. That was a mechanic that I really, really liked. I don't know why I liked that so much, but I liked it so much. I've been playing Affliction for a long time. Wasn't a big fan of the UA stacking. I think it has similar issues to like what Unholy Death Knight has, where you build wounds on a target, and then if you want to switch targets, your damage is kind of already committed. And the fact that mechanic is being reworked away from DK, but it's being implemented here, implemented here on Affliction, and also implemented on Frost with my review of Mage, which I'll likely have linked at the end of this one. I think it could have some issues there. Also, like the ramp time, how fast mobs die, but maybe that's, it's less of an issue at higher level difficulty content where engagements will last longer. But at like lower level difficulty, maybe you'll just spam seed and it won't matter anyways in a lot of those cases. But that's just one concern that I have. And basically, they've reworked Malefic Rapture into your rotation. Like you'll have a transformation here. You see a Malefic Rapture. Basically, your Nightfall, instead of making an instant Shadow Bolt, it'll turn it into Malefic Grasp, which if you played Mists of Pandaria, is kind of like that channeled ability. I really wish you could move cast it the same way that you could in Mists of Pandaria, because that's a little bit of a pain point, at least for me, as far as playstyle of it. But we'll highlight that here in a moment when we get to the training dummies. But if you wanted that experience back, it's back. Honestly, not my personal favorite. Again, that's kind of like just a personal bias against Malefic Grasp. I'm a big fan of the instant Shadow Bolts, and I'm curious how they're going to get Cunning of the Cruelty, basically, which I like this mechanic. It's the trinket from Cataclysm. But how is that going to work with, Malefic Grasp replacing Shadow Bolt? Because you're basically not going to get instant Shadow Bolts anymore. It's just going to be Malefic Grasp. Are they going to add that into the tooltip of this? They probably will have to if they want this talent to remain any sort of option, or you're going to have to not play Malefic Grasp in order to play it. There's like some weird anti-synergies just kind of like built in the tree with those two kind of just contrasting with each other. But overall, I think the AoE kind of Mythic Plus rotation, it's going to feel really good. It's going to feel really smooth. You're going to feel really strong. The class tree on the side here, it's really different. It's really, really different. You'll see things like Pact of Exhaustion, which I'm somewhat confused by, because I thought when I read this initially was that it replaces Curse of Weakness with Curse of Exhaustion. So I was like, okay, so we can't have Weakness, Exhaustion, and Tongues. Like, we'll have to pick one, and that's how they're going to reduce the keybinds. But that is not actually what's happening. So you have an ability here called Pact of Exhaustion, and it's like a stance, like defensive stance, almost like when we had Fell Armor and Demon Armor. And when you activate the stance, your weakness turns into exhaustion. And I don't know how to feel about it, because it's like you still have basically the same amount of keybinds. Because if let's say I want to exhaustion this target, but I want to weakness this target, it means that then I have to press this to cancel it, but then press this to go back to the original ability. So like this is my curse applier, and this is my curse modifier, but it's like the same amount of steps. It's just I have to think about it differently, and I don't really like that my brain has to change how I'm thinking about this. I was trying to think from like a new player perspective why this might be good, because you can just permanently change this keybind, but you could just drag exhaustion here. I guess it's so you don't have to change the talents, but then you've just got a dead talent. Like, why would you take that? I'm kind of confused by it. It seems a little bit strange that they're like, I would have honestly rather seen Fell Armor and Demon Armor coming back, and you kind of choose between being a little bit tankier or getting a little bit of extra damage out depending on the situation than this. It just seems like it's like the same result with extra steps as far as keybinds, because you can still get all of the curses, and you'd still need to have 3 separate binds, right? Like if I got tongues here, well, now, okay, so wait a minute. I can't have tongues and exhaustion, or is this bugged? I kind of feel like this must be bugged, because this is pact of tongues, but it's not letting me take it. So if I talent out of it, or maybe I have to lock it in to be able to get it. We'll see here in a second, but it just seems like extra steps for the same result, and you basically modify the main curse. I'm not a huge fan of it. Just like a point of feedback, at least from, you know, and what you should anticipate for this. They've got Foul Mouth, which is not implemented, but we can finally read it. Casting Curse of Exhaustion, Tongues, or Weakness now curses all enemies within 10 yards. Now, depending on the synergies in PvP environments, like Jinx, that could be some massive dot application as well, if it applies. And obviously it's not yet implemented, so we don't really know. But if it is, that's going to give you very fast ways of getting dots onto multiple targets, as well as the utility, at least in PvP. They're bringing back a lot of healing, I've noticed, with Drain Life healing being increased. Obviously, Dark Harvest. Affliction previously had almost all of its healing stripped away, and it's interesting to see them kind of putting that back in. Like here, Drain Life now heals 700% of the damage dealt, and now grants Soul Leech, equal to 10% of the damage dealt. So quite a big focus on Drain Life. You're likely gonna have a lot more self-sustainability. So for solo content or solo PvP and stuff like that, you're gonna be able to heal a lot more, which is gonna feel nice. I'm curious to see if it ends up feeling overpowered or not in a lot of those regards, but you're going to be having it. Teachings of the Black Harvest is moving to the top part of the talent, and it's a gatekeeper to Dark Pact, which is your major defensive cooldown now, which is, again, a little bit strange, especially if you're running Sack Pet. So I don't know how I feel about this one, gatekeeping like some very primary, like defensive oriented and throughput oriented talents. Feels like it's a little bit off in this location, at least from my own personal observations. And I can't imagine in PvE, like maybe they're trying to get you to take Imp to singe off effects in Mythic Plus or something, but it's like your healer does that. Maybe there's a lot of them. I'm just not particularly a fan of the location of Teachings of the Black Harvest right now on the class tree, because it's just gatekeeping some very vital, like it's all defensive talents, right? You're taking like this pet thing, and then it leads into almost all defense with Hellstones and Soul Link, and it just seems like weird that this is like the gatekeeping talent to the defense side of the tree. For myself personally, I'd rather the trees are like organized, like this is defense, maybe this is pet utility, this is mobility, and then you can choose like how far you want to specialize in mobility versus defense, or how far you want to specialize into bonus utility over defense, depending on your circumstance. I feel like having it organized and not separated, so you're choosing between defense and utility. On one side, it's utility versus utility, defense versus defense, mobility versus mobility. Would be a bit better. But again, just my own personal feedback here for this. All the same talents with Gateway. They've just kind of just moved them around. We still have the Howl of Terror. We still have Shadow Fury. We can reduce the cooldown of Shadow Fury still. We can reduce the cooldown of Howl of Terror as well with talents here towards the bottom. Blight of Weakness calls forth a cloud of cloying shadow mist that envelops the target and enemies within 10 yards, increasing the time between their attacks by 100%, reducing their critical strike chance by 10%. So again, making Curse of Weakness a little bit more powerful. I think this is likely more impactful in Mythic Plus, because obviously auto attacks are a significant portion of damage that like the tank's going to take. So you can feel a little bit more useful, have some kind of like real utility in a Mythic Plus environment instead of just kind of straight damage, and you're getting a lot more self-healing. So you're probably going to feel more viable in Mythic Plus situations, with given those both as main pain points, at least for the past. Good rapid AoE damage, good self-sustainability, some nice team utility. Those are all going to be big bonuses when it comes to that. Soul Burn located towards the bottom here, underneath the gateway now, and Soul Link still off to the left. So just a little bit of a rearrangement. Honestly, some kind of just basic talents that are just like 2% leech, 2%, 3% intellect. Not any major risks really being taken here, and I'm just going to kind of lock these in so that I can lock in my talents here for the hero talents in just a second, so we can start doing some testing on the training dummy. So Soul Harvester, I was a bit worried about what was going to happen with this because it was based around Malefic Rapture, so let's just check out what's going on now. A demonic entity inhabits your soul. allowing you to detect if a shard has a Succulent Soul. So just removing Malefic Rapture entirely, you're just going to get procs now. Succulent Soul empowers your next Unstable Affliction and causes the damage to target to take 5% increased damage from your Unstable Affliction, and unleashes a soul to deal shadow damage to the target suffering from your corruption. So they just removed Malefic Rapture entirely. It's just a passive proc. Now they have added the rows here on the right side of the hero talent tree. Manifested Avarice. Each Succulent Soul consumed has a chance increasing chance to unleash the demonic soul within you, enable it to your side. This is just the set bonus from the current patch, and it will swipe enemies. The next one is just Mastery, and this effect is doubled if the demon. That's very strong. Eternal Hunger increases the duration of Manifested Avarice by 5 seconds and increases Soul Swipe. So it's going to increase its duration, which then increases your Mastery effect and increases the doubling effect of it. So very powerful hero talent trees here on towards the left side of the talent tree. And they also have talents focused around Nightfall, which is going to have, if you're running the Malefic Rapture. I'm just a bit worried about the instant Shadow Bolt build falling off if Malefic Rapture ends up being kind of the main staple of this here. And you can see like Nightfall here increases the damage of Shadow Bolt and Drain Soul, but not Malefic Grasp. So I feel like they're gonna have to add that in, because otherwise it's like anti-synergy, or you just don't take that. If you're playing Soul Harvester, you don't take the Rapture. There, it's just not gonna work out for you, because the talent builds are just not going to synergize effectively with each other. And I believe that there was something related to Haunt in here, if I'm remembering correctly. Obviously, I'm playing a lot. Yeah, right here. Corruption deals damage 25%, and Haunt grants Nightfall, so you can kind of get that instant. But it's got nice synergies also with the fact that you could trigger Malefic Grasp with this tree, but then this top talent doesn't synergize with it at all because it's just not on the tooltip. So I do wonder if they're going to aim to include that in the future. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a mess at that point. And then obviously Hellcaller got its talents on the right side, which is the Wither build for Affliction Warlock, a little bit more focused around Critical Strike. Increases damage on Stable Affliction and Seed of Corruption, and this effect is doubled during Malevolence. So some nice AoE burst there. Devil Fruit, periodic damage dealt by Wither has a chance to grant Malevolence. So just random proccing Malevolence is really good. Really, really good. You're getting cool and awesome stuff here. Thorngrin's Iniquity. Malevolence grants an additional 4% haste, and when cast, increases the stack counts of active withers by an additional 2 stacks. So I assume that you have to cast this. It's not going to be from the random procs, but just baseline stats are really good, especially considering they're doing a stat squish. It's the first patch. Our stats are going to be very low, so talents that provide you stats are really strong in all content. Really, really strong. But I kind of want to try this out. Just to see what happens with this build. You might just have to opt to not play Malefic Grasp. Another benefit too is that they have basically give you twin moons for your agony in one of these talents, to where I might already have it just near the top or something like that. I'll know right away as soon as I press agony on something. Yeah, so you can get twin moons, so applying agony is a little bit easier to multi-target, and you have less keybinds, so you don't have to worry about it. So a little bit of keybind reductions there, not a huge amount, honestly. It still feels and plays pretty much the same, but if we're stacking Unstable Affliction on the target here, getting Haunt, you can see my Nightfall procced, so Malefic Grasp. I wish I could move and cast it. That's my only criticism towards it, but let's see how high we can go as far as Unstable Affliction stacks here, because I am a bit curious to see. And you're just going to be draining the target now instead. But I can't see the stack number on my UA. Did they remove the number on it? Because it says it's doing 70,000 damage, which seems extremely high, but it looks like they've removed the number on the stacking UA, which is a little bit strange to me. I wasn't actually expecting that. And then obviously you can still Dark Glare, but it's only going to be extending non-UA related dots, and you can kind of get this drain build going instead. But you see that it doesn't proc the Shadow Bolt volleys. It's likely not scaling off of the Soul Harvester hero talent tree. So I would doubt that you would play Malefic Grasp in this situation, just because it's not going to be giving you procs, right? I'm very curious to see actually the difference if I can drop combat here. Oh no, am I going to get permanent corruptions? I've got Shadow Meld though. I can beat your game, Blizzard. I can Shadow Meld and drop combat. So I just want to take some of the Haunt talents and some of the Shadow Bolt proccing talents and kind of just give them a go. We also have Death's Embrace as a capstone now. Agony, Corruption, Stable Affliction, Seer, Corruption, Shadow Bolt deal 40% damage below 35%. So we get a big kind of execute phase, which honestly sounds pretty fun with what I'm trying to do right now. But I haven't really theory crafted all these talents because they weren't all implemented as far as trying to get the most synergy out of them in any given situation here. But that one does seem really fun if you're going to try and run like for an execute-oriented single target build. Something that I definitely want to check out. But we'll just respec into the Shadow Bolt talent. So now that it's interesting, you actually keep the Malefic Rapture. It would go, oh, but now we proc, so it does proc the Shadow Bolts. All right, we've learned that it does proc the Shadow Bolts. They've updated it, even though the tooltip doesn't say it, unless it's a bug because I respec'd it. But I don't know if it's scaling off this, or if they're going to add it to the tooltip, or if it will just be applied anyways. I also want to try these 3 Apex talents and show you guys those, because I think those are going to be really cool. But now my Haunt's really fast. We're going to be getting the instant Shadow Bolt procs. We still stack UAs. Probably not going to want to waste a lot of time hard casting Shadow Bolt unless you're completely out of soul shards. But I just like the AoE Shadow Bolt animation from Cunning and Cruelty talent. It's just my favorite talent in the game, basically. Then you can see that the instant Haunt Shadow Bolt combo is still there. We get instant UA procs, which is also really fun. So you can get a little bit more instant damage. It reminds me kind of the Boomkin Miss of Pandaria, which I miss that playstyle so much, where you would just proc Star Surges. And unfortunately, it looks like we're lagging out. Hopefully the server is not going to take too long of a dump here for us in this video, because I did want to highlight and show some of the new talents as well here towards the bottom side. Okay, now let's try out the Dreadlord. Okay, let's just try out the Dreadlord. We're gonna drop some talents because we're not max level. I really want to see what this guy looks like. I'm really curious. I need to know. It's all focused around Haunt. That's the one highlight that I really like about this build. So let's just try and get a Dreadlord summoned in here and see if it's named Jaina or not, because maybe it is. But we're going to get the Haunt Shadow Bolt combo. Instant UA applications. Still have all of the same Shadow Bolts. Seems like we got unlucky, though. And we did not get a Dreadlord summoned immediately, so we're going to have to see how long it actually takes. Honestly, this is probably good just to see like how realistic this is, because we're running all the Haunt talents, trying to make it a little bit more obvious as to what's going on. Maybe it's also because I need corruption on these targets because it does AoE damage. There we go. There he is. There's the Big Daddy Dreadlord. And you can see him cleaving the targets. He's spreading carrion swarms. This guy's going to be sick with Seed of Corruption and just doing like monster AoE damage and just plowing through enemies. I think that's a really cool effect. Definitely makes me feel like a Warlock. Big fan of the Apex talent. Big fan of the Apex talent. Not sure how to feel about this Pact of Tongues thing, where it's like it's the same amount of keybinds, but it's changing the original one, and what that's going to do to my brain with memorizing like what curse is what curse. Not a big fan of that. Right now would be my biggest criticism, and then just like updating Malefic Grasp to be included with anything that was related to Shadow Bolt previously, because it replaces it, and with all of the empowered effects, it's likely going to lose some value. But overall, it looks like it's going to be a strong option. I think it's got the bearings and the baseline kind of flooring that it's going to be a strong option. And if you like the playstyle that I've debuted for this, then it's likely going to be an excellent pickup for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive into it. We'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, I'm relaying updates and news to you guys in real time. So once again, if you'd like to support the channel and make sure that you're staying in the know and the now and not missing out, smash the subscribe button. Your support's greatly appreciated. But that's all I got for you guys here. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.